Okay guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about meditation and breathing. And before you check out on me, I say that because I was very doubtful, skeptical of meditation for so many years. I talked about this in the previous video, so I'm not going to go too far in depth about it, but it was something that I was never able to do. The noise in my head is the internal dialogue of what I call, the stream of consciousness, which never ends, right? It's just always just this fast-paced, just blur of thoughts. And it's an interesting way to think about this is the game Frogger, or a more modern, newer version is called Crossy Road. If you ever watch one of those games, you know that you got the little animal, or whether it's a frog or Crossy Road, I don't know what it is, a person or whatever, but they're trying to cross a busy highway and there's cars going in both directions, right? And so you've got to kind of time everything right to get across the road without getting run over. And then sometimes when you're in the road, you got to shift shift lanes and things like that in order to try to get from one side of the road to the other. Well, that's what I've always felt like with my own mind, right? The internal dialogue in my head. I've always felt like the frog or the character or whatever in Crossy Road, where I felt like I just get out in the middle of traffic where all these thoughts are just going like this, and I'm stuck, and I'm like a deer in the headlights sometimes, and I'm trying to dodge, different thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And so every time I'd ever attempted to do meditation in the past, which has only been a handful of times, first of all, I didn't really research it enough to know that that's normal. But number two, it's just I never put forth enough consistent effort to be able to see any results, any measurable results. And so I'd always quit. And the thing is, by just that simple, I got introduced into that Headspace app, which you can download for free on your Android or iPhone, and it's it'll give you 10 minutes a day of guided meditation and breathing exercises as kind of a starter plan. And then after those 10 days, you can upgrade to a pro version, which I highly recommend. And I use that Headspace app now every single day as kind of what I call my warm-up exercises. I use it as a pre-game activity. I use that as the very first thing that I do in the morning after getting dressed and getting my coffee made. Before I start my workday, I spend 10 minutes in the Headspace app breathing and just kind of quieting the mind so that I can become focused. Then after I get focused, I work on planning my day. Then once my day is planned, which takes about 20 minutes, then I spend about an hour in study, right, of this stuff right here, which I'm teaching on now. But the meditating, when I started doing that 10 minutes of Headspace app, it was perfect because it started me it taught me to understand that most people feel like that, like the frog or Crossy Road, right? In Frogger or Crossy Road, most people experience that same kind of incessant noise and traffic going on in their own heads. So it's not about trying to control the traffic. It's about stepping to the side of the road, right? So out of the lanes of traffic and just observing the thoughts. And that's perfectly okay. It's okay for those thoughts to continue racing through your mind. But you don't have to get caught up in it. You don't have to put conscious effort into those thoughts. Does that make sense? You can just observe those thoughts. You don't have to get caught up in them. And so when the Headspace app, that's part of the reason why I continued using it after that 10 days trial period, was because it really introduced me into this idea and framed it in a way, it framed a meditation, in a way that made it understandable for me. Something that I could say, you know what, okay, that makes sense. Let me try it from that approach. And from that point on, I was able to really start implementing what I was learning. And so again, with the meditation and breathing, and I say meditation and breathing instead of just plain meditation because breathing is so much a part of it. Breath, taking in air is what gives us life, right? And being able to focus in on your breathing is one of the most powerful techniques of meditation, and that's one of the best ways to get into a meditative and calm state, is by focusing your attention on your breath and allowing the deep breathing in and out and focusing on inhaling and exhaling. And that also helps to nourish our bodies with oxygen, which helps also. It's kind of like a perpetual effect, right? It's a cycle that perpetuates itself. As we focus in on our breathing, we breathe better, we breathe deeper, we get more oxygen, which helps our thoughts to clear up, right? It gives us clarity of mind, but we're already focusing on breath, so it reinforces the breathing, which reinforces the clarity of mind and the focus. So it's kind of a perpetual effect. And what I found over the last 4.5 months now that I've been doing it is that you become better, right? It's just like anything else. You start to practice meditation and you start to exercise, and it's like a muscle. You'll start getting better at it. You'll be able to get to deeper levels of mind, right? So different levels of the mind, different levels of consciousness. And we'll get into this a lot deeper in later dates, but there's different brainwave frequencies that humans have, right? There's the beta, then the alpha, then the theta, and then the delta. Those are the primary 4 different stages. There's also one additional stage, but it's really, really, really low. And we'll talk about all that at a later date. This is not the time for that, but we have these different levels of consciousness that we can be in, and we can actually determine or manipulate our level of consciousness or level of mind based upon meditation and our breathing. And so what I found is by practicing meditation and practicing the breathing exercises, which is part of meditation, it helps you to be able to get into deeper levels of consciousness, as well as be able to get into that state a lot quicker. The more you practice, the easier it becomes, and the deeper you can go and the faster you can get there. And at those deeper levels of consciousness, the deeper levels of mind, is where you can start to reprogram your subconscious, right? So it's called programming. You can start programming your mind and rewiring your mind to eliminate negative limiting self-beliefs, and to start reprogramming with positive thoughts and goal setting and achievement and gratitude and all these different things you can start to program into your mind when you reach that level, that lower or deeper level of mind, right? And so all of that begins with meditation, and breathing is the biggest part of meditation, really. It's not just mental, it's also the physical aspect of the breathing, and combining those two, it really helps to bring a level of focus as well as reinforce that focus. So it's very, very important. Highly recommend that you pick up the Headspace app or something similar. It doesn't have to be that one. It's just it's the only one I've ever used. So I don't know any better about any of the other ones, but I highly encourage you to do that and start practicing that on a daily basis. And guys, all you need is 10 minutes a day. Just spend 10 minutes a day going through the meditative practice and the breathing exercises. And then you can start, if you just spent 10 days doing that, and then at the end of those 10 days, if you feel better and if you feel like you've actually been able to get better at meditation in just those 10 days, then you could start to try to either increase the duration or do what I do, which is I don't increase the duration of just the meditation and breathing. What I do is use that as my pregame, right, as my warm-up exercise to get into a relaxed, calm, focused state. And then I plan my day, and then I spend another hour in that state, either going into creative visualization and shadow boxing, which is a lot more meditative type stuff, or studying about more of this kind of stuff. And all I'm saying is it opens your subconscious to the power of suggestion. So meditation is very, very important, and it's very key in order to introduce suggestions in your subconscious mind and have them stick. All right. So again, meditation and breathing, super important. It's not hocus pocus bullshit like I always thought it was. It truly is something that's absolutely amazing when you start to practice it and you start to develop that muscle, right? That meditation muscle, so to speak. So we'll see you in the next video. We're going to talk about creative visualization, shadow boxing.